All right, welcome back to the PMR podcast. My name is Mitch, and I'm an alcoholic addict.
What's up, guys? I'm Andrew, and I'm an addict and an alcoholic. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you for coming back. This is episode 8. I think I'm low key starting to lose track.
It's eight.
It's 8.
Ocho.
Okay.
Lamar.
Lamar wears 8, so this is the Lamar episode. Thank you for coming back to listen to us. If you are coming back or a first time listener, appreciate you as well. We're approaching 50 subscribers, which is exciting. I don't know where we're at, but somewhere around there, which is
It was
tough.
48 last time I checked. We're on the road to 49, Mitch.
So who's gonna be number 49? Last episode was good. You got to see me ugly cry, which was very fun. I haven't cried in a while, so that was good. But speaking about some of the stuff that we talk about, we're very passionate about it. So I mean, that's just what that is. That's where that comes from. We wanted to. This won't be the last time we talk about rehab, but we wanted to tie a bow on it and finish up a couple things today. I think we were going to talk about. One of my friends sent me a question saying what was something that was like most impactful while we were in rehab, something like that. And then before we started recording, we pulled out our notes. We're going to try to find something to talk about in there. Yeah. And then a little bit about advice for other people if you're thinking about treatment. And then talk a little bit about at the end our transition out of rehab, those first couple days, weeks, months out of rehab. But also wanted to touch on this is one of your first times listening or you've been returning. We appreciate you. And Andrew and I are trying to continuously build this community of people in or out of recovery. And if you are struggling or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to us. We have an email on the PM Recovery Instagram. Both of our Instagrams are on there. We're more than willing to talk with you, try to help point you in a direction that we may have taken, anything like that. Or if you just want to be like, what's up? Or if you just want to talk about the Ravens, whatever it is, feel free to hit us up.
Yeah, we can chop it up about anything, man. Doesn't have to be about recovery, but
yeah.
we're
Whenever
always
Andrew and I
around.
talk, we just go. So it's a good time. But oh yes,
Mitch,
also shout out to Steve-O
Mitch,
real quick.
yeah, I'm
You're the
about to
best.
say that's actually funny. You and I are always on the same wavelength. That's what
Yeah.
I was about to say. I was about
You
to
took
say,
it.
listen,
I
man,
got it this time.
we can't miss my man Steve-O. Steve-O thought it was my birthday today. It's not my birthday today. It's my brother's birthday today. But Steve, I appreciate you. When it is my birthday,
It's
you're
coming
all
up.
set. You already did it. You don't have to say happy birthday to me. You've already done it. You're just a few months early, but I appreciate you.
When is your
Um,
birthday?
it's November
To,
10th,
to
which
remind our
is which
listeners.
is which is Mitch's original sober date before he changed it to November 11th, I
Yep,
believe.
that's true. This is a
If
true
you don't
story.
believe in a higher power or in the universe or whatever powers you choose, then there's just a little bit of evidence for you about
Now I
that.
might have to switch it back to make the story better.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that we could just leave out the second part of that story so that we could actually just say that our your sober date and my birthday are the same, but
That's so
you
insane.
had to go and be honest, and now it's
Yeah.
not as cool of a story.
Close though. Also, now that we see it, and I haven't said this yet, but Andrew got a mic, and he has a stand, so he is now,
Yeah.
in terms of levels, he's above me. It's an arms race. Next person, well, I guess I have to get a stand, then we'll be tied, and then it comes down to the HD 5K, 6K, 8K cameras.
Yeah, I'm broke, so that will probably take a while for me to get to. I'll get there eventually. I have to
Mm,
stop getting tattoos and buying Jordans, but
same.
one day I might be able to improve my camera so that you guys don't have to look at my childhood bedroom.
How about this?
Um
How about this? I'm gonna come out and say it. By the time this drops, we will be on Apple Music and Spotify.
yo,
Lock it in.
you're putting a lot
Lock it in. And I'm gonna have to sit with that if we don't. So listen, that's how kind of how I work. We
You're
will have it
putting a
on
lot of pressure on us, and by
us.
us, I
We
mean
will.
you, because you're the one who's been doing all the work for that.
I mean,
Um,
you can cheer me on though while I stare at my
See,
computer.
I'm problem is I'm technologically inept,
Mm,
unable to
mm.
perform. Even getting this microphone was a massive step for me.
What you did.
And I am an egomaniac with an inferiority complex.
Uh-huh.
So as soon as Mitch said he's going to get, the mic, I was like, I need a mic. And then, now he's talking about a camera. I'm like losing my mind. I'm like, how can I got to one up this guy? Like,
Yep. I love how we can speak honestly. I'm the same way. Anyways, let's get into what we're getting into today. All right.
hold on.
Okay.
I got to ask you a question first. For anybody who wasn't listening, last episode we talked, I mean, we got really deep into rehab, um, about some relationships we made there, like about some of the emotions that we felt when we got there that we kind of walked through, and about some of the loss we experienced while there. I mean, again, we don't know. I always forget to look this up, but the statistics on this disease are not great in this country. Like, and it's something we're both very passionate about. But I just wanted to check in on you, Mitch. Like, how did you feel when when we were done recording? Like, I know for me, I felt really raw. Like I had reopened a box that I might have shut a little bit about that period of time. There was a lot of growth during that time, but there was also a lot of pain. Like,
Yep.
and a lot of relationships that I try to kind of turn a blind eye to now because it hurts to think about people who who have gone back out and who didn't make it back in.
Hmm.
So I just wanted to check in, man. How are we feeling?
I appreciate that. I am feeling, and we talked a little bit throughout the week. I'm feeling much better. It wasn't like I was feeling bad, but like we said, like taking ourselves back into some of those memories and stuff is they're all real as hell, and we remembering them sober. At least the rehab memories. Um, so yeah, I mean, I listened to the episode before it dropped again. I usually listen to it one time, and actually, usually I listen to it right after, like the day of. But this one, I was like, damn, I know I cried on that one. I was a little embarrassed, and I didn't. I think I took like two days or 3 days before I listened to it back,
Mm.
and yeah, man, I just wanted to say that like Chris was a super special person, and um whenever we lose anyone in any way, like family, friends, whatever, it hurts. But when you feel like they were lost due to an injustice, it's even worse. So I talked with some people about that just to unpack it, and did the necessary things that I needed to do. But yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, man. I mean, we've received feedback like it was a heavy episode, but it was a really, really important episode. Like, again, and I say this, and we say this when we're just talking and bullshitting on the phone, but like, it's good to have this, and I like releasing these podcasts, and the feedback we get from other people is great, and whatever down the line, it's awesome. I have a lot of gratitude for it, but the biggest reason that I do this, man, is for you and for me.
Mm,
Like,
yeah,
I,
I
like
agree.
I felt a lot of power in that conversation. Like, I needed to hear it, and you needed to say it. Like,
Yeah,
and because of those two things, like, that's why I value what we do. Um, because it's fucking raw, because it's honest, because it's like there's no BS in between us. And like, I am an egomaniac. Like, I don't want to cry. Like,
right.
I don't want to let anybody know how I'm feeling. But those are like, that's the beauty of having friendship and sobriety, like in the friendship that we've created, even though we've never met each other, which is wild.
It is
But
wild.
Like it
We will.
yeah, we will. And that's why this is so important to me. Even if we didn't release this, like I might feel a little goofy just talking to you like on a Zoom with a microphone and then just like
Yeah, yeah,
saying
right.
peace. But like,
Right.
I mean, I'd fucking do it because
Right.
I get a lot out of this, man.
Me too. I completely agree. I also wanted to say real quick, last right before we start thing, is that I did get reached out to, and I was sharing it with you and Steve-O. But like we've been getting some messages from people like mothers and like fathers of younger kids in recovery, and that's been really powerful for me. I mean, I think I got two of them to the recovery page this week talking
mm,
about how they have one was like, I have a 20-year-old son, he's in rehab right now. Like hearing you guys talk about this has helped me more understand him. So um, that's pretty awesome. I'm very grateful that we can, us like getting on here and doing this is helping just one person. But like you said, like, and sometimes this people are confused by this, but truly, like, this is for you and I to stay sober today. I told that to someone and they were like, I told that to someone literally a couple of days ago. And they're like, what do you mean by that? Like, that doesn't make sense. Because, like, usually, if you're making content, if that's even what this is, it's
right.
like it's for everyone else. But we're really just sharing something that has been traditionally not shared.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. I think almost like I love the feedback we get. Um, and I encourage people to keep giving it. But like you said, there's nothing like we haven't cracked the code here. Like we're not
No.
reinventing the wheel. Like we are saying and having conversations um, about this disease that have these conversations have been going on for probably centuries, but at least in terms of AA, since the beginning of AA.
Right.
The only difference is that these a lot of these conversations have, like you said, occurred behind closed doors, like in the halls, like with anonymity intact. And I feel blessed that I met another human being, and like the timing of that was crazy. Just us coming together. I remember I was in Minnesota, and I got on the phone with you, and like I knew right away, like neither of us give a damn about our own anonymity.
Hmm.
Like, and I think that I respect anonymity, and I think there's a lot of room for it. Like, and there's a time and a place for everything, right? You don't need to be shouting from the rooftops, maybe professionally in your job or whatever it is. Like, oh, I'm a junkie, like But the fact that you and I can kind of walk through that barrier and just speak like without worrying, about keeping our public image intact. Like I think that that's powerful. Like, and I think
Yeah.
that it helps me, but I think that's also the reason why some people can identify and some people maybe have had the courage to reach out because, like, frankly, we don't give a damn. Like,
Mm-mm.
we don't judge. Like,
Yeah.
we've walked through it all. Um,
I
but
will.
yeah,
Yeah. I
go
think
ahead.
the anonymity thing is a whole episode, bro. Because like I go back and forth all the time. The more I get into it, the more I really understand the anonymity. And we say at the end of every meeting, anonymity is like the cornerstone of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's like it is number one in a lot of AA goers' eyes. And my sponsor said something to me. It wasn't a shot or anything like that. Um, but I'm on, like I've shared before, on step 8 and 9. So I've been making it. I made two amends so far,
Mm.
which has been
That's an
relieving.
episode in and of
Kind of leaving. Yeah,
itself, right there.
I got two down. Um, but he said something along the lines of like, if you are gonna go out and like talk about recovery, how you do, or he was generalizing. He didn't say like the podcast or whatever, but he was like, if you're gonna go stand on it, you better like live a straight line. Like you better be on a straight line. You feel me? So it is an added pressure to us, whether we say it or not. And as long as we're aware of that, like And if it become, if it's ever too much or not a good spot, we got to be honest about maybe we take a week off or whatever it is. Like I would rather that than get to a point where it's like we're faking shit. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
like forcing shit or anything like that, because that's not what
Yeah.
we're about at all. But it is,
Yeah.
it is, it's a polarizing conversation in the recovery community.
It
It
is.
really is. I've gotten negative feedback for it and positive feedback. So, but
Yeah, man. Listen, let's dive right in, man.
let's do it. I want to
Um,
hear from you. Tell me
oh boy.
something. Tell me something. Tell me what was the most impactful, if you can pinpoint it to that most impactful thing that happened to you at inpatient that you think.
Oh man. I think it's tough to pinpoint one. And this is a great question. Whoever Mitch's friend is, appreciate this
Shout out
question.
Peyton.
Because it's like it's difficult to pinpoint one thing. I mean, a lot freaking happened in like a very, very short time. I was there a little over 2 months, and like I learned how to like I had the emotional intelligence of like a 14-year-old boy when I got there. And I'm not gonna say like I fully reduced the gap. Like I had some serious arrested freaking development um when I was in there. And as like the shades were drawn and the fog cleared and I could see with some clarity how the world in my life was actually going. I was freaked out and I felt alone again and scared. And I think the biggest thing that I learned in treatment is that I'm not alone. Like that, like that, and all the power to people who get. And we talked about this a little bit last episode, but and I have a lot of respect for people who went to a couple meetings and then latched onto this program and stayed sober. Because that's like a really big individual strength, I think, to do that. Like you
Definitely.
stepped up in there, you didn't have to. You could have hung out in the back and gone right back in your car and started drinking again. Like, so I have a lot of respect for people who did that, but I think the biggest strength for treatment for me was that I was almost forced to like have conversations with these people I didn't know. I had no idea who they were or what they where they came from. Everyone's in a very vulnerable spot, and um and I'm not going to say forced because like we all chose to be there in one form or another.
Right.
um but we had like these very difficult conversations like at the time I thought with like strangers about what we were going through and what our life had been like. um and I learned like that I was there with probably over the time I was there's probably 30, 40 people that came and went or whatever, and that I was a guest with. And there were mothers and fathers and people who were grandparents and women and men and straight, gay, and just all walks of life, every walk of life that you can imagine, and every substance, and stories that were very different than mine, some stories that were similar. But like when we got in those rooms and we started to really open up about what we went through on a daily basis, like what it was like for us trying to live in our own skin, why we got high, why we got drunk, why we used. I all of a sudden found that I wasn't alone.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I saw and found that although the stories were different, like the details, and I feel this way very strongly with you, Mitch, as well. Like the stories or the substances or the circumstances behind the addiction and the alcoholism were different, and in some versions they were very, very different. um but the feelings were the same. Like I, every single person that I went to treatment with I could identify with, like in some form or fashion. And that this
I
is
agree.
this is where I learned how to identify and not compare. Like,
Mm,
because every time I started comparing myself, like, I didn't do that. Oh, I didn't do that. Oh, that person's like, well, I'm not a mother. Well, I'm not a father. Well, I don't have any kids. Well, I don't do this for a job. Well, I wasn't a drinker. Well, this and that and the other. That just pushed me further into isolation. Like, and treatment, and through the people that worked with me at Heron and were patient with me, and who I'm forever grateful for. They taught me how to identify with people and not
mm,
compare myself to their story. Um, and in that identification, like, I found a community of people who were struggling with self pity and self hate and with feeling less than, and all of these feelings, these negative emotions that led us back to those habits, those feelings, those. I never thought, like, and they say this too in the halls, like, I thought I was the only one in the world who was like literally using against my own will. So like I was literally like waking up in the morning saying like, all right, I'm not gonna use pills. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. Like, I'm not gonna use today. I don't want to use today. And through the course of the day, like, I would use.
mm.
Like, it was against my own, my best plans, my best laid defenses, like all of my mental strength stood no chance against my addiction. Like, and in treatment, I met people who felt the same way,
Yeah,
like, and who had the same story. And I think, like, again, and I'm being a little bit long-winded here, but like, that is still so huge to me. That skill of identifying and not comparing. I mean, look at like you and me. Like, you got 6 years, right?
almost.
Yeah, one day at a time. But I have less than that, markedly. Um, you, like, our substances were slightly different. Like, our stories are different. Like, and in my own way of thinking, if I wanted to compare myself out of this relationship, I could. I could be like, man, we're not the same. Like, we don't have the same story.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Like, me and Mitch, we ain't the same. Like,
Mhm.
but we've gone a level deeper than that to, like, how did we feel when we were going through these things? What kind of emotions did we feel? Like, how did we treat others? Like, how did we feel about ourselves? How much hate did we have toward the world and to our own soul? Like, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, me and Mitch were the same.
That's where the connection is. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I think you could speak on this too. Like, the community and treatment is like and I've been in fraternity, I've been on sports teams, whatever. Like, I know, Dennis and swimming is a whole nother fucking level of togetherness and camaraderie. All right. But
Hmm.
like, I've been on teams and stuff, and I don't really know if I've ever been part of a closer community than the people in treatment that I went through it with. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. 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 As you were talking, I was thinking like I think my answer is a lot very similar. Like, I think you nailed it on the head with like the community and being together because like that, that aloneness is a driving factor or one of the driving factors for a lot of the substance abuse. Like
Mm.
I had this uh, moment when I was young where it was like I locked myself in my room and I was like, it's me, it's just me type of thing. And that stuck with me for a long time. And like in rehab, I learned that it's not, right? Like you were kind of saying. So most impactful, I think I agree with you that being surrounded by a group of other people that are all trying to recover and are all trying to like fix their things together is unquestionably extremely powerful. Like
Mm.
it just is. Like some of the realest I always say this, like some of the realest people you'll ever meet on this planet are in those meetings, like
Yep.
are in treatment, are in whatever, working on themselves. And it's just that's just how it is. Like So like most impactful for me, I mean, I'd love to have like a different answer, but it really is the same for me. It's like the community of that and those people. Like I said in the last episode, I think I said that I latched my recovery onto some of those people that I was in there with early, uh, for better or for worse.
Right. Right.
Um, but I've always needed to align myself with something,
Mm.
whether I was the face head of it or something that I could point to. Um, and I think I did that. I know I did that regardless of working a program or not when I left. I was like, I'm a part of this community now. And that really pushed a lot of my things with like the anonymity. And I was like, let's all show our face. Let's be proud. And that was pretty ego driven a little bit in the beginning and for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I still have to watch that now. How much of that is genuine? How much of that is look at me? That's something that I honestly have to check myself on and be careful of every day. Um, but yeah, like I was saying, like I've always swam. So like when I was swimming and I would swim well, I'd post something and be like, look at me. Um, when I was with a group of guys and we were like cool guys in high school or whatever, we post our pictures together. Look at me.
Mm-hmm.
And look at this group that I have. I think the group is something to key in on. Like, look at all of us. This is what
Yep.
we do. Look at my swim team. We win championships. This is what we do. But know that I'm in the front, right? Like, this is what we do, but this is what I do also. So when I was in recovery and found another community, I think I used it in a little bit of a different way than you, unfortunately. To a degree. I'm not gonna like demonize everything that I did. I did love the people I was in there with. I did care for them. Um, but I think I found that community and I needed that community, similar to like what you were saying. And that's what I've been trying to do since I've been sober is build more and more and more on that. Um, but so the most important thing that I took from it, just all the way down to what you were saying, basically, is that it's okay to be like this. This is not I mean, you can say it's unique, but I really don't think it's that unique, especially at this point. There are a lot of addicts and alcoholics in and out of the rooms in the country and the world.
Oh yeah.
Um, and part of accepting that I was an addict and alcoholic, part of saying in a meeting, Mitch, alcoholic in the beginning, is announcing that that we're all part of this group and we're in this together. Um, and so it was kind of like a rebirth. I mean, that's why I got this phoenix tattoo. I love that idea of like it started my journey for who I could actually be because I couldn't have ever been that if I was drinking and using.
That's
Um,
why it's our logo, man.
yes, sir. I love the Phoenix, dog.
Yeah, bro.
I love the Phoenix. The Phoenix is unreal.
We're on our Harry
Such a
Potter shit.
Yeah, it's such a cool fucking thing. And I had such a nerdy like Roman thing when I was a little kid. So I know it's not Roman, but it's like Greek mythology and all that shit. I love that.
Mm.
They were really bored and they had some dope stories. All right. Uh let's see.
Hold on, though.
Yes, sir.
I just got to speak on what you said. Like, and this is why we check ourselves all the time when we're making these podcasts. Like, because we want to be part of this community, right? But we got to be careful. We like both you and I, like we have to
Mhm.
be careful about, why are we doing this? Like, are we
Right.
doing this to show people like, oh, hey, look at me. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I got this whole thing figured out. Like, look at my story. Look at it becomes a pride and an ego thing, right? If we let it go unchecked. And that's
Fast.
why I'm so grateful that like I'm doing this with you
Right.
because we both have spoken about it and joked about it and laughed about it. But it's true. Like our egos will run wild if we let them,
Mhm.
if they
Yeah,
go
imagine
unchecked.
if it was just you or just me. I feel like my stories would be different.
Yeah, bro. Everything would be inflated. Like I would have like,
There's
man,
no one here. Yeah.
no, no. I mean, and that's why like we check us like each other, and I'm I'm grateful for that. And another thing that I just have to tack on at the end of this is most helpful at treatment, like at inpatient, is that I had people and I had people before that loved me and I
Mm,
appreciate them and I like my family, my mother, my father, my brother, like all my family members, friends. I had people that loved me. Um and I have a lot of love for them, right? But in treatment, I had people who loved me, when I couldn't love myself. Um and while I was learning to love myself. Um because I hated myself. I still do struggle with this concept of self-love. Like I feel selfish
mm,
when I do things that are, others might consider just self-care or like you know practicing self-love. Like if I take 45 minutes or an hour like in the day to just meditate by myself or if I'm doing breath work, if I'm like doing something that's just like for me, like it's for Andrew, like I get like antsy. Like,
mm.
man, I should be doing like I can't, I'm being selfish and I'm not helping somebody else. I'm not helping around the house. I'm not doing this or that. And um it was in treatment that I learned like the beginnings of how to love myself. Like
Yeah.
that of how to look in the mirror and be like, all right, this is a person that we can learn to love. So I just wanted to add that. Like I learned that at treatment.
That's a good
Um
thing to add. That was the first time anyone ever told me, I want you to go back to your room, look in the mirror, and tell yourself I love you.
mm,
And I was like, I'm not doing that.
mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
that's something I did. I was doing that for a little bit. It'd probably be beneficial to get back on that. But I agree with you. That's a
I
big,
mean,
it's a big part of it.
yeah.
Um, well, we were looking at our
Um,
journals
oh, dude.
before we jumped on, and my journal's pretty manic. I mean, it's got a lot of good stuff in here, but it's got a lot of wild. I mean, I had tattoo ideas in here. I had
Oh, bro.
doodles. Um,
I got poems. I thought I was fucking Bill Shakespeare.
yeah, yeah. I got introduced to the word boundaries. I don't even know what boundaries were really.
I still
So I have
don't,
a
bro.
whole section on boundaries for myself and others. But I don't know. Do you think
Jesus.
you have something in here that we think we would want to talk about?
Yeah, man. I mean, this is a wild ass thing. I remember you asked me to like pull this out, I think a couple of weeks ago when we were first starting to look and you were looking through yours. And I was like, I don't want to look at this damn thing. Like,
Yeah, that's how I felt,
because
bro.
I'm like ashamed of this dude in here. Like,
Mm,
and also shout out whoever makes these because these are I love these fucking things.
the best journals. Yeah,
And yeah, I still like I'm uncomfortable looking at this.
I
Because
agree.
I have so much like
What
I'm
is
so
that?
short-sighted. Like it, it's it's like a stream of consciousness of just like ego, especially in the beginning. Like what so self-serving and self-centered. Um, and it's very unstructured and just like you said, like it's pretty manic, dude. Like
I had a
uh
line in here in the beginning, one of the first couple pages. I said, "I will conquer the world." This is like a week into inpatient rehab.
yeah,
So
you're ready to go. Get you
yeah,
back
yeah,
out
let's go, baby.
there,
I'm
man.
ready. I got everything I needed. Let's go.
That's the spin dry, baby. I think I my so I was just like stream of consciousness writing nonsense
Yep.
um for a few days, and then my life coach in treatment was took a look and she was like, "What is this shit?" And um she made me do like a very structured journaling kind of technique where I was writing three things that I was grateful for, three emotions that I felt throughout the day, and three things that I could give myself credit for. And the reason being is I was writing the gratitude list because I was full of self pity, right? And the way that I turned that around was by literally forcing myself to write a couple things I was grateful for every day. Um, the reason I was writing my emotions down, 3 emotions from the days, because, and I think you can identify with this. Like, I didn't know what emotions were.
Hmm.
Again, like I had the emotional capacity of a 14-year-old boy.
I agree.
Um, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm feeling. Like I wrote like some of these, like um, I am like, I think I wrote I wrote, I have an indescribable emotion that's making that's making it very hard for me to talk to people. Like half of these are just like, I have an indescribable emotion. I have an but now, like, even only, it's been over a year, whatever, but now I can see, like, oh, that's sadness. Oh, that's self-pity. Oh, that's hatred. Oh, that's resentment. Oh, like, I had no idea what these things were. So that was good practice for me. And then the credit list is because again, my self-esteem was so low. Um, and my self-confidence and my own, like, picture of myself was, I had such a low opinion of myself that, my life coach was like, listen, you need to write a couple things every day that you don't have to be egotistical about, but you can give yourself some credit for. Um, and I'm looking here at the first couple weeks, and number one, I struggled every day to find things that I was grateful for. Like, I couldn't do it, like, especially in the beginning. But eventually I found, I started to see things like it, and it was simple stuff like, oh, I'm grateful for the fire that we had tonight in the fire pit. Oh, I'm
Mm.
grateful for, like, the cool breeze during this hot summer day. Like, I'm grateful for, you know, like the poem that a fellow guest shared with me. Like, all these little things, and then the same thing with the credit list, dude. Like, I couldn't it seems like pretty much a month. Like, I couldn't find 3 things that I could give myself credit for.
Mm.
Like, because I imagined it had to be these huge things.
Right.
Like, I have to, I can't give myself any credit until I get out of here, or until I make amends with this person, or until this relationship is fully healed. But, like,
Future
now I'm
tripping.
seeing it's like the very small, like, credit lists. It's very small steps. Like, I gave myself credit for spending good time with my dog. Like, instead of wallowing in self-pity, I gave myself credit for putting my phone down when I was, like, engaged in an unhealthy text conversation. Like, all these little tiny wins. Like, and I mean, it's crazy to look back at this, because it's in these pages where I started to have, like, the tiniest semblance of emotional intelligence.
Wild.
Like, wild, wild,
That's
dude.
huge. I love that, bro. That's pretty powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, like, I I almost didn't want to look at it, because it's like, oh wow, like, I'm still not. I'm still probably an emotional toddler,
Yeah.
but I was an
Yeah.
emotional infant, like an emotional infant, like, unable to see anything besides my own big looming problem of, like, oh, how am I gonna stay sober for the rest of my life? How can I go through life not high? How did I end up here? Um, and it's crazy, dude. Um, what do you got in there?
Thank you for sharing with us, sharing with me, and eventually us, all of that. That's I get it first. Um, that's kind of wild.
It is, dude.
Um, well, I did some towards the end, I started doing a lot more journaling, and we had classes and stuff like that that I would take notes in.
Mm,
Um, but one of my last nights, I have it dated 12, 14, 16 to 12, 15, 16. We had this like ceremony at the rehab. Whenever someone was getting discharged, there'd be kind of like a celebration for them and all the guests that were there. if you were close to that person, would give them like a token or something like that. And I remember when I was early on in there watching those, and I was like, I can't wait to do that because that looks like it's all about me. Like that looks really fun. Like everyone's all centered around you. We have a fire, everyone goes around and talks about you. I was like, that looks sick. I can't wait to do that. And I looked at it like that for a while. I honestly probably looked at it like that up until I left. To be 100% truthful with you. But I wrote
Mm-hmm.
down after my discharge night, it's like the night before you leave. I wrote down some of the things that the people had given me, which I still have. And they're pretty sweet. I mean, they're pretty like, it's just is wild because um, they give you a coin, or I wrote down that I had my 30-day coin in my hand the whole time, and I was squeezing it. And then I just started listing off the names of people that I haven't even seen their names in a long time. Emily and CJ sang a rap for me, which was hilarious. Like, and I remember that, like, uh, they like got up and like did this funny ass song because I was like listening to Kodak on the community TV whenever we had like downtime. And
Jeez.
I think one of Kanye's albums came, or Kendrick's album Damn came out when I was in
Mm.
rehab. Or no, not came out, but almost came out. Let's see what else. I got someone gave me I got my tool belt from Loretta and Melissa, which had all my tools that I would need for when I leave, which is, good stuff. I wrote that was dope. See, I've been saying dope for a long time.
Yeah, buddy, I know.
Um, Someone gave me warmers to remind me of we had fires too. That was my favorite. Like at night,
Favorite.
have a fire, everyone would chill out
Mm-hmm.
there, and you could stay as long as you wanted, like until
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't like a bedtime or anything. I had some great talks with people at those fires. That took me right back there too when I just read that. Um,
Yeah.
I got a blow pop for whenever I blew up, which is funny because I had a couple like swings where I like freaked out there. Like whether I remember I freaked out on one of the nurses. I can't even remember what it was for, but I had my temper was nuts, and so
Mm.
like as a joke, someone got me a blow pop, which is kind of funny.
You with a temper?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't imagine.
I got some leaves to symbolize turning over a new leaf. Um, I got some peeps, those candies,
Oh yeah.
um, to remember all the peeps I've made here. And then I wrote, "Trust me, I'll never forget." Uh, for those people that do know me, someone got me a carton of milk, which is funny. I'm a huge whole milk guy. It's a real issue.
Jesus.
It's a real issue. I mean, I got 2 gallons downstairs right now.
Dude, that
But that's a
yeah.
whole nother thing. Anyways,
That'll be another episode.
I got tissues to remember it's okay to cry and show emotions.
Mm.
I got a journal from Emily, to continue my journaling habit. Um, I got a Just for Today book, which I still have, which is an awesome book.
Yep.
I wrote everything that people said to me was eye opening and made me feel really good. Uh, we got like this certificate too, which was awesome. And I started to write down like I love this place, the people here. Um, I feel like I'm in the best mental spot that I've ever been. Just finished my discharge papers. It's 12:14 a.m. and I can't speak highly enough about Carly. That was my therapist,
Mm.
Rachel and Sunny. Those were two texts. They were catalysts for changing my life. Advice I got from them are things that I'll never forget. And then I wrote down like yeah, this is wild. Always put myself in my recovery first. Helping others a close second. Hmm.
You were wise even then, brother.
Yeah, but these are all just things I'm regurgitating, right? Well, it gets a little crazy at the end. I start talking about going to the Olympics, but
Oh,
that last night,
baby.
yeah. I had to get it in. I had to get my me in there at the end. But yeah, I mean, I look back on rehab so fondly overall. No
Mm.
phone, like only got one phone call. It was a beautiful place in South Carolina. Um, And some of those days of just like, I don't even really what's that? What's the word? Like just like free is a simple way of saying it, but it's kind of just like I'm here with all these people. We're all going to class together. We're all going to therapy together. We might get in the juggy buggy and go to the grocery later. You know, it was just like indescribable how like it was, we cried together, we laughed together, all that
Right.
stuff, bro. Like it was
Right.
like I remember like a year or two in, I was like, I want to go back. I even relapse. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I was
man.
like, it was such a good experience. Like, and it was only I only allowed it to be a good experience when I made that switch.
Mm. I mean, yeah, I mean, I work where I went now,
Right.
right? And I'm
That's
the same
nice.
way as you sometimes. Like, I'm like, damn, bro, I just want to be a guest here again.
Yeah.
I got some more stuff I got to deal with.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. I hear you, bro. Like I would go ham if I went back now. I'd be like,
yeah, I know,
taking super notes.
right? Hindsight's 2020, right?
Yeah,
Um, but I found another thing in here just real quick, and I know we gotta keep moving.
we're good.
But I got a sponsor. I started doing weekends at home, um, like 5 weeks in, because my home is pretty close to Heron, and I met my sponsor at a meeting while I was at home for the weekend, and he had me do this exercise, which I will never ever forget, and uh, I just got a very stark reminder of when I was flipping through here. He made me do two obituaries. He made me do an obituary about myself if I went out and used and relapsed and OD'd
Hmm.
that day. Um, and he made me do an obituary if I lived the program, worked the steps, and made this a way of life and lived in contented sobriety for the rest of my life. Um, and that was like one of the craziest exercises that I've ever done, right? And I'm a believer that there's a lot of gray area in life. Like, right, things aren't usually black and white. Um,
No.
things are not usually just yes or no. There's a lot of wiggle room for argument in life, just in all of life's events and relationship and everything that we humans go through on a day-to-day basis. But in this particular battle of sobriety, and recovery for an addict, um, life is black and white.
Hmm.
Like, if
Drink
I
or don't drink.
use,
Yeah.
yeah, if I use, it's death. It might not happen right away. It might not happen today. It might not happen tomorrow. It might not happen next year. I might go to jail first. I might end up in a mental institution first.
Mm-hmm.
If I use, it's death. If I don't use, I might die by some other cause. I mean, that's the way she goes. But
Mm. Love that.
I give myself a shot if I don't use today. I give myself a shot, an opportunity at life. Um, and that's what that obituary exercise taught me, was like, okay, there's two options here. Like, neither one, like, those are the stark ends of either end of the spectrum, but like, that's what it is. Like, if I use, I'm dead eventually or tomorrow. And if I don't use, I have a chance at life and a
Mm.
beautiful life. So I mean, yeah, that was just kind of one of the last things I found in there, which took me back, man, because I got to remember that daily, on a daily basis, like, and it's honestly like something worth doing. Like,
Yeah, I bet. And it
it's
gets lost
crazy.
on us so fast too. That's such like a good thing to do because like there's just something so much different about saying like, yeah, I know if I use I could die, as opposed to writing down, your obituary. Like
Yeah, bro.
that's
Writing
more
down it, like,
visceral.
Oh,
Right.
dude, writing down in the parentheses like 1997 to 2021,
Mhm.
I was like, man, fuck. Like it becomes real, like you said. Like it's real. Like, oh wow, like I could that could be it. Boom, right there. That could be in the newspaper. Like,
Mm.
um, so kind of moving on. So we're in treatment, right? We're learning all these things, but then we have to leave, right? Like we gotta go. Like we can't stay there forever. I mean, last episode we talked about, you know, the insurance thing and the way that kind of determines our length of stay, and if the treatment center is affiliated with, with insurance. But like the moral of the story is we can't stay at treatment forever. Like at some point we leave.
Right.
And so I want to hear how did that look for you? Like what were you going through? What kind of emotions were you feeling? Like how
Mm.
that, I mean, because it's a scary ass time.
Yeah, I was very scared. Um, yeah. So I was born in Ohio.
Yeah.
I moved to Baltimore in third grade, something like that. So then I did Baltimore all the way up until college. And while I was in rehab, oh, and then I went to college in Ohio. So while I was in rehab, my mom moved from Baltimore back to Ohio, which I don't think I've ever told her thank you. I might call her after this and tell her thank you because changing people, places, and things once you get out of rehab is vital.
Yeah.
Vital. Like for real. Like, I mean, to the best of your abilities. I mean, you're in there still, and I don't think I could have been around some of the dudes and the people that I had grown up with and seen the liquor stores and stuff like that. Because I mean, I didn't work a program either, right? For a good amount of time in there too. So putting when my mom moved us to Ohio, I got discharged on December, no, right before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do the math on December or November 10th to 35 days. That's just a lot of math. Early December.
Mid-December. I'm
I
with
don't,
you. I'm with you.
Christmas was coming. Okay. I spent, that's something, that's crazy. I forgot. I spent Thanksgiving in rehab, and it was actually my favorite Thanksgiving ever. It was a great Thanksgiving. The food was amazing.
Yep.
But so we did outpatient care. So I had to go in with my therapist and like, how can we put you in the best case? And they said that they thought I should go into sober living. And my ego said, I'm done. I did 35 days. I've really liked it. I've grown a lot. I don't need sober living. I'll just do anything but that. I just didn't want to do it. I don't know why.
I'll do Mitch's version.
Yeah, I didn't want to do it. I'll just be 100% honest with you. I didn't want to. And so they're like, well, you have to do outpatient basically. So I was like, all right. So my mom got me set up at this place in Ohio called Dublin Springs, and I went and did 2 weeks of outpatient in a new. So I moved back into a new house, new neighborhood, didn't know anybody, um, no connection to meetings or anything like that. At least off jump. And I did 2 weeks of outpatient where I'd go in at 9 and leave at 5. My mom would drop me off and pick me up like I was in school. Um, and that was really hard. I I don't know. I just didn't. I wanted to be back at school.
Yep.
I felt like I went to rehab. I did everything you guys wanted me to do, and even though a large part of me was like, "We're gonna do this forever," I was like, "Yeah, but I just did that. So like, let's jump back in. I'm ready to go back. I'm ready to get swimming again." But the reality was, I had gotten kicked off the swim team. Dennison said you were one strike away from being kicked out of the school.
Mm.
I'd burned a bunch of relationships. I was not ready to go back. Um, but I did the 2 weeks of outpatient. And then I kind of just sat at the house. I wasn't allowed to go back I didn't know at that point, I didn't know if I was going to be back on the swim team or back in school. And so I kind of sat at the house in this new neighborhood, new state to me. And I didn't have a job for like 3 weeks. And my mom was like, "You need a job. You need to be doing something." So I went and got a job at a restaurant, and that's when I started developing this, using meetings as a booster shot, basically,
Mhm.
to say it like that. Like, I got a sponsor at this meeting in downtown Columbus, these younger meeting, and I was like, I don't relate to any of you. I didn't like any of them. Uh, I didn't give them a fair shot, but I remember not liking them. They were way too happy for me. Everybody was laughing. I hated that. I haven't thought about this in a long time, but I remember being angry, bro. I didn't like any of them. I didn't like my sponsor. He called me too much.
Ah.
He was
Jesus.
close. He was close. This is all just real, bro. Because to be honest with you, I told you I haven't worked on my anger thing and my chip and like all that stuff until the last 6 months. So I mean, I
Mhm.
carried that shit straight into early recovery. Um, but yeah, I mean, the aftercare, I don't know. I basically kept myself busy. I worked at a restaurant 6 days a week. I did everything Dennison wanted me to do. They wanted me to like prove that I was able to go back to school. I
Yep.
called my coach and met with him. We met at the what's that coffee shop in Granville? Oh, we know it. We know it.
With
We
the
know it.
Buckeyes.
No, in
That's
Granville.
I know, no, but it's got like those the Buckeyes, the chocolate and peanut butter
Oh yeah, yeah,
things.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Man, what is that place called?
River Road. River
Yeah.
Road.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
met
All
at
right.
River Road. It was like right before or after Christmas. Sat down, he asked me about my experience, stuff like that. And I don't remember if I asked to get back on the team or what the steps would be, but I don't know if that was discussed the first meeting. We met a couple times. Um, but yeah, and this shit is kind of pissing me off because I feel like I threw away so much time in recovery. But
Yeah, man, but that's part of our journey. Like we
yeah, that's
can't
true.
listen, I feel the same way every goddamn day.
Yeah,
Like what am I
like I
doing here,
wasted so
man?
much time, bro.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, mine is my
How about your
story
first
is
couple
much the
months?
same. Like, and we're gonna dive into this a little deeper in a couple episodes. I think.
Bringing a
Um,
guest on soon.
yeah, that's gonna be dope. But yeah, I mean the transition out and just to speak briefly on it, like I didn't know what to do with myself. I had to get a job real quick because
Yeah,
I was just gonna waste time at home. I used meetings to like fill my day because I needed to fill my day. But the biggest, like the most overwhelming like sensation that I was feeling was like I felt like naked. Like all of a sudden, like that protective layer of treatment that I had was gone. Like in treatment, I could really be myself. Like I could talk about war stories. I could talk about how I was feeling. Like people don't do that in the real world. Like people don't get real like that. Um, People don't make relationships like they do in treatment. Um, you can't just go around talking about, drug addiction
yeah.
in normal society.
Especially the
Um,
yeah.
I mean, so I did. I felt like, what do I do? And again, we're gonna go into this in another episode, but it's like, oh, it was scary. I was like, my blanket, my security blanket is gone. Um, Here I'm back. I'm back out like in the
Yeah.
thick of it.
You have
Um,
options now.
I could use like I plausibly could. Um, People are around me, not
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
around me, but they are like it's happening. And people don't like they're not just gonna check in on Andrew all the time. Like there's no
Mm,
employees here that are gonna be like, "How's Andrew doing today? Do you need anything? What's going on?" Blah 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 blah. Like, nope. Andrew's got to figure it out for himself.
yeah.
Um, but I can identify like feeling like I mean, I had to get a job. You know, I felt a lot of anger because people were laughing. Like I'm like sitting in an AA meeting. I'm like, what are you fucking laughing about? Like
Yeah.
my life is absolutely destroyed.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, uh,
yeah.
I'm so stressed out and anxious like about what's gonna happen to me. like I'm in trouble with the law. I have problems with relationships. I don't have a job. I have no money. I'm like, dude, what do you laugh? There's nothing funnier. Like
Mm.
every everything is a disaster. My life is a disaster. Um, and so I could when you said that, I was like, yeah, man, I was pissed. Like I was pissed at people. I was pissed in the meetings a lot because I'm like, what is this like happy-go-lucky shit?
Yep.
Like, yeah. Um, but again, we're gonna, that's gonna be a good segue into next episode because that transition period is crazy. Um, and I think we gotta, just to close us out, like we have a question asking like advice if we're thinking about going into treatment, right?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna keep this real short, um, and sweet, um, because I now work in this field and I field calls from people saying, I don't know if I should come in or if or give me a couple weeks and I'll be there or whatever. Like my only advice is do it.
Mm. Look
Like
at faith, baby.
if you have to question, like if the initial thought pops in, like, oh man, like, and that option is there and other people are like, you need to go to treatment or you like, I need to go to treatment. Don't ever let go of that initial thought. Um, because our brains will tell us otherwise immediately. Like I had a million excuses of why the time wasn't right for me to go to
Yep.
treatment
Yep.
and
Yep.
how
Yep.
I could do this myself and how all the way down the line I had a
Not
million
yet. Not
excuses.
yet. Not yet.
Yep. It'll be a perfect time in fucking 3 months. Give me two
Mm-mm.
more weeks to do all my drugs.
I had that same thing.
Like, bro, wild thinking. Um,
Yes, sir.
as soon as that thought pops into your head, go make the call, get a bed. Like I know at Hair and Wellness, like if you call us, like if you call and I'll pick up or my man Rhodes will pick up, like we could have a bed that night. Like go before your
Yeah.
brain fills your head up with all of that other silly shit. I mean, that's all I got on that. It's very fucking short.
I completely agree. I completely agree. The like the advice for me on that is like 100% what you were saying. I had a million excuses. I've had excuses my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I could deny, rationalize anything. When it comes down to like if you're watching this or if you ever see this or someone ever sends this to you or whatever and you're thinking about going to rehab, what changed things for me was someone told me on the phone, there's something to be said about a lot of people saying the same things. I think
Yeah.
you should think about that. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? A lot of people saying the same things. And then when I was by myself, I was like, my mom said I should go to rehab. My grandma said I should go to rehab. My best friend said they're concerned about me.
Mm.
I mean, Todd said, I think you should think about it. My head coach kicked me off the swim team and said, I think you should look at treatment. And then I was like, oh, fuck. You know what I mean? And that can come at any time. Like you were saying, I cannot co-sign what you said enough about when that moment comes in, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is, where you're like, I think I need to go. You got to tell people that are close to you that can help you make that happen. And you got to
Mm-hmm.
go because for me, it was like a 10-minute window. And then after I'd already made all the calls, and then I made all the calls. I told Todd, I told my mom, I told the dean of students at Denison, I'm ready to go. Let's do the medical leave. Send me the medical leave papers.
Mm-hmm.
I did all that. And then I was like, fuck, I don't want
I
to
don't want
fucking
to
go to
go. I don't
rehab.
want to go.
Yeah. One more week, one more month,
I got
So
a
I
couple
completely
grams
agree.
left, bro.
If
I
you're
got
thinking
like I
about
got.
it, yeah, if you're thinking about it, keep thinking about it. And I promise you, you deserve that experience for yourself. If you're at a spot where
Yep.
like, if you're at a spot where rehab is actually something that you need, and that's only a decision that you can come to also, by the way, I mean, that's like the hardest part is like, do I want to do this for myself?
Mm,
You know what I mean? But yeah, I completely agree.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Rehab changed my life. That shit was greatest experience thus far, getting me into this recovery. I wouldn't be here if I didn't go.
No, I wouldn't. Me neither.
Um,
I don't know where I'd be. I would probably be dead. Uh,
I
Um,
did write down while you were talking real quick about that early recovery,
mm,
and I just thought it was powerful because it's true. And I don't know if anyone can relate to this that's listening, but just straight up, I wrote down that I wanted the image of recovery without putting in any of the work,
any work. Yeah.
zero work. I wanted you to know that I was a year sober. I wanted you to know that I fixed all my problems, and I wanted you to tell me good job. And when I swam fast, I wanted you to say, wow, you swam fast and you're in recovery and you
Boom.
got kicked off the team and you're back. And we'll speak on that on a whole episode, but that's just facts, bro.
I mean, that's drug addiction,
Yep.
right? Like I wanted to feel relief from my emotions and my problems without putting in any work. So what did I do? I took drugs.
Yeah.
So I
I
didn't
did
have
that black and
to
white bare
work at
minimum.
all.
I stayed sober, but that was it.
Yeah.
My sponsor
Yeah.
called it abstinence a couple of days ago, and that shit pissed me off. But he's right. He's
That is true,
100%
bro.
right. I was abstinent. I was not a sober person.
Yeah. Because if you look on the dictionary, right? And I know we
Yeah.
got to close it up, but
Yes, sir.
so being sober, like, is a soundness of mind and body. Like,
That's crazy.
and our bodies could be sound, right? Like, because we're not physically putting drugs in our body, but our minds, like, if we're just abstaining from using drugs and alcohol, but we're not doing anything else to like replace all that negative action with positive action, then we're not. I mean, we're physically sober and abstaining for drugs, but the true meaning of the word sober, we're not living it.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, I was at my sponsor's house and we're doing the amends stuff, and I told him stuff that I did when I was sober, and he looked at me and he was like, "You weren't sober, bro." And I remember I got like a legitimate, like, semi-violent reaction. Not, I didn't hit him or say anything crazy, but I was like, "Did you just question my sobriety, bro?"
you're
You know
like,
what I mean?
are you kidding me, bro?
And I had to reflect on why I was angry, and I talked to him about it later. And I apologized if I came across angry at all, but I was like, "He's true. That's true."
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
hey, thank you, Andrew. Appreciate you. Love you,
Bro,
bro.
this has been dope.
Yes,
This has
sir.
been dope as
This has been
always.
dope. DOPE. And
Yeah,
hopefully next
man.
week we have a guest. We're working on it. I think we may actually have our first guest, which is exciting.
Ooh, baby.
It's no longer the Mitch and Andrew show,
Yeah, I'm about to say
at least for one episode.
the egomaniac in me is like, oh man, I gotta share the stage with another dude.
I was thinking, like, how are we gonna fit three people in this Zoom thing? I don't think it's gonna work.
Nah,
I'm just kidding.
push it down the line.
Yes, sir.
All right, bro.
All
God
right.
bless.
God bless. Love you. And everyone listening, keep coming back. Who's gonna be number 49? I'm looking
Love you,
at you. It's
man.
gonna be you. All right.